second thing is objective evidence. What is objective evidence? Objective evidence is apart from the theory, which you can get from Google Scholar. Objective evidence means anything that is not captured by the theory, but that has been proven to impact that particular concept or service quality. 5 constituents are there in the theory, but there is one which is missing, which can come from objective evidence. Objective evidence means any evidence which is not captured in the theory, but which is captured in either a consulting report or any other report, and which is seen to impact or which is seen to be a variable of service constituent of service quality. That is objective evidence, which means looking at practitioner literature or any other evidence which says that apart from these 5 constituents of service quality, there is another constituent that can impact, that is the constituent of service quality that is counted by people in determining the service quality. So that is objective evidence, which means looking at the reports, market research reports, to see whether there is any other factor apart from these 5 that could explain the service quality. Right. It is not an evidence, it has still to be very tested and verified in so many different scenarios. Only then it will become objective evidence. So it is just an idea. Yeah. Yes. So you could have that as a part of theory, but to have that as a part of theory, you need to verify, re-verify in many different scenarios to say that wherever the theory has worked, to say that it will be part of this theory in all these scenarios, but not part in all these scenarios. Now, some of your questions I am trying to answer in a very simple way, but there are very complex answer of this when we talk to research scholars. So I'm trying to be very simple. So sometimes the complete content of that explanation I would not be able to give, because that will be out of the scope. So from these 2 things we will get to know the constituents. We will be able to break the components. We will be able to get the answer to some of the components, like what are the constituents of service quality, and we will be able to break components into research questions and hypotheses. So let's say in the Motilal example, we got to know the 6th constituent as providing unexpected and latent service. So we know 5 factors: responsiveness, how quickly people respond to your request, the employees of the restaurant respond to your request; reliability, how accurate is their service; empathy, how polite and courteous are they; the 4th one, tangibles, how good are the facilities visually; and 5th one is either courtesy, or I don't remember what is courtesy, or empathy would be very close. There is some other factor that I am not able to recall. Assurance, right. So the 6th one is, now there is a trend whenever we go to a good restaurant, dine-in restaurant, and they find out it is our birthday or anniversary, they'll bring a cake, they'll cut it, their employees will stand, everybody will clap. It has now become very common, but when it started, it was an unexpected surprise. So let's say providing unexpected and latent service becomes another factor. So now we have these 6 factors that explain the service quality. Now this is all about what theory is. I would not go into each and everything. You need not also understand all this. Read the textbook, but whatever I spoke, if you understand that must be enough. The assurance is there, right? Now the next one is analytical, verbal. These are just the ways to represent the theory in terms of relation, just like I showed you in the circular boxes, one leading to another, that is called graphical model. All these analytical, verbal, graphical, these models are ways of depicting that theory, representing that theory, presenting that theory to the people. So verbal is when you verbally say what leads to what. Graphical is when you pictorially show. Graphical is this. Mathematical is the same thing when you represent service quality. Service qualities, there are 6 factors, independent variables, there is one dependent, let's say repatronage. So when you run the regression, what do? You add the coefficient, beta 1 times responsiveness plus beta 2 times this, that is what's seen, plus the constant. So you can simply state it in the regression form, assuming that there will be a linear relationship. So it is just showing where all the objective evidence and theory is applied to break the research question, to break the components to research questions and hypothesis. Hypothesis is a statement that can be verified. It is a claim that is unproven. One of the hypotheses, let's say, the height of average height or the average height of male students at IIT is 5'7". This is the hypothesis. You go out and test it using a sample. You cannot sample 12,000 or let's say 6,000 is the population of male students. You cannot, you have to select a sample, get the average height and do it. So hypothesis is a claim, the statement that can be tested using the statistical methods. That is why we try to break the components into research questions into hypothesis. Sometimes the components get solved just by looking at the theory. As I said, one of the components was what are the constituents of service quality. So by looking at the theory, you got to know what are the constituents, what is their definition, and even how are you going to measure them. The measurement also of the concepts can be different. Stress that you are getting from this class can be measured if I give you a 5-point Likert scale. I can also measure if I put a heart rate monitor. I can also get if I put a BP machine. I can also get by looking at your facial expression. So there can be multiple measures of the same thing. We will come to that little later. So now we have the idea about the constituents of service quality. So we can break one of the components of Motilal restaurant. So one of the component of Motilal restaurant business issue was how do people evaluate Motilal restaurant and competing restaurants in terms of constituents identified in component 2. Component 2 was what are the constituents of service quality. We have 6 components of service quality. So once the component 2 is resolved, we are going to use those factors to break the component 3 into research questions and hypothesis as it is given on the screen. So research question 1 is, do people who are familiar with Motilal and competing restaurants evaluate Motilal restaurant poorly as compared to competing restaurant in terms of responsiveness of employees? And then you further break this research question into hypothesis. But conceptual framework is like graphical model is a conceptual framework. It is analytical. Analytical model means the model which has variables and interrelationships. You can say it verbally, it will become verbal. You can write it graphically, it will become conceptual framework. You can in many ways. So you can likewise write research question and hypothesis for all other components, right? For component 3, you can write research question and hypothesis for all other constituents, right? One of the components, as I said, so component 2, you got the answer. Component 3, now I said specification of the information needed also as the one of the thing. It is just listing the variables for which you need to collect the data, listing the variables that are part of your hypothesis or research question, so that you don't forget measuring them when you proceed further. That is what is specification of the information needed. One of the components, as I said, would always be coming from the marketing research problem, whether it comes or not. You have to write it. What are the demographics and psychographics of your customers? Always you have to write what are the demographics and psychographics of your customers. Are there different segments of your customers related to your product category or service category? These two questions you have to do, irrespective of whether you can get it from marketing research problem or not. Can they be meaningfully segmented? The first one is what are demographics and psychographics? Demographics, what are demographics? Age, gender, income, occupation, education, geographics. So demographics would have all that. What is psychographics? Lifestyle variables. What are those? Because this is where the difference between you and any other student will come, because most do not understand. If they understand what is psychographics, they don't know what to do with that. What are psychographics? Okay. And why I am saying that this psychographics is very important, because demographics, at the end of the day, we are trying to predict consumer behavior, explain why people buy certain things. Demographic do not explain as much as psychographics. Psychographics, they are the better predictor of a customer behavior. That is why we should know what is psychographics. Whenever you are doing any marketing related consulting or a research project, you have to measure psychographics. Now, what are psychographics? Psychographics, somebody said lifestyle, right? It could also constitute the values that the segment people hold. Okay, that is all right. We want to know in a form which can be useful to us, the values. Okay, but when we have to use it, how to use it? Or lifestyle, what does it mean? We have to get into the field to get that data.
Feeding habit, or like what do they eat, how many times do they eat, or what do they wear, how they transport to their.
Okay, that is right. That is activities. So one is, so if you want to break lifestyle into certain things, lifestyle can be understood through activities, opinion and interest. Activities are the things that people do. Interest are something they are interested in, hobbies, or what are their interests, what excites them, what they do at their leisure time, free time. Interest. Opinions is what opinion they have about the critical issues that government is facing or country is facing or their type of people are facing. And if you look at activities, there will be 1,000 activities which we do every day. Interest, we would have interest in so many different things related to different things. Opinions, we would have opinion about everything. So what does it mean? That depending upon your product category or your service category, you have to pick up on in all these activities, what should be the activities I should be worried about in order to try to explain the consumption of this product. Let's say green tea. For green tea, you need to look at some activities related to exercise, restraint related to tasty food. So all those activities, interest, opinions, from that you will get to know the lifestyle of various segments, and then you understand which should be your segment and so on. So you need not measure all activities, which means for green tea consumption, you need not look at whether the person is, whether the green tea consumption of males, you need not look at the activity, that whether the person is the one who teaches his or her, or for male, whether he is the person who take active part in teaching his son or daughter. So that is irrelevant activity related to green tea consumption. You need to look at the activities that are relevant to green tea consumption. Maybe exercise. Does he walk to the office? Does he do any physical exercise in the morning? How much is the food consumption? How much is the tea consumption? How much is any cola's consumption, and so on. These are relevant activities related to. So because this will give you one aspect of the lifestyle activities, then interest, then opinions. They were there, and then if you mix it up with values, then you will get an understanding of lifestyle. And how you have to mix it up? You have all these variables, you have to input the measurement on all these variables into cluster analysis, and cluster analysis is an algorithm that will tell you, method that will tell you, statistical method that will tell you, you have these many segments. There are one segment, this is like this, other this like this, third like this. Now you select which segment you would want to sell the green tea to, or make the green tea to and sell and distribute. Now again, importance of values. Why value is also important? There is a value theory which says there are 9 values, and we have a different priority of values than the Westerners. Now, depending upon what you value, what your segment value, what your people value, that also defines a part of the psychographics. We value achievement in life, that is why we are here. We want to do something for us. Some might be here because their parents have given them push, dhakka. I don't want to do it, but because of my parents' sake, I am sitting. That person would value freedom. Okay. I'll be free. I'll be out of my house. Nobody can say me anything. I don't want to. I'm not very ambitious. I don't want to achieve many things. But my freedom is very important. That is his value. For some, family becomes very important than achievement. And then many behaviors are driven by that. So that is why values also become very, very important. You might see that values are just, just like concepts in the air. We would not understand and it will go, but they are very, very strong predictor. Okay, so these are psychographics. See, your task becomes, whatever I say, you go back and look at, try to read on psychographics and see where you can actually get more understanding of psychographics. If you are in analytics position in a bank, you want to run the model related to, who are the customers who you can provide this platinum credit card. So you will run these models only. Psychographics you will have to identify. If you will not know what is psychographics, you will look at what is given and try to do things. So many of these simple, where you need not think, simple sort of analytics will be automated. If you have to keep your worth, then you need to have understanding. That will be how in the long term you will be able to retain and do well in your jobs. Because the simple mathematical models, the regression based models, this can be automated. The contextual intelligence is something which cannot. The decision making based upon your experience, contextual intelligence, and what the data model says, that will determine how well you will do. So that is the idea. Work on your understanding. Now let's quickly look at one more example of problem definition process. I'll move a little quickly before we actually start doing something on our own. So This example is also given in your textbook because many of you have not read. Let's quickly look at what is there. There is a department store called Sears. It is facing a decline in patronage. What broadly is the management decision problem? What should be done to improve the patronage? It is not enough because we need to look at the marketing research problem. So we need to do the 4 activities, research activities to discover the probable cause, and the activities are done on discussion with decision maker. He says he has no idea. Experts also says by contacting experts, they say that Sears customers as well as customers from other major department stores, they did not reveal any particular code. So from there also you did not get anything. Secondary data also revealed nothing. So there is the idea from the 4 activities that in some activities, in some factors, Sears is good, in other factors competing stores are good. So there is no particular probable cause to narrow down to. So in that case, the marketing research problem is defined as determine the relative strengths and weaknesses of Sears vis-a-vis other major competitors with respect to factors that influence store patronage. This is the marketing research problem, which is broken down into components. So what factors influence a department store patronage? Maybe price, variety, nearness to the home, location, so many things. So look at the theory. Whatever you don't get objective evidence, whatever still is not there, use your brain, put something, try breaking the components into research questions. So these are something that came up. So this is a graphical model, nothing more, mathematical model, and so on. So the idea is till step 2 we have finished, right? So we will now do some exercises